Hey guys, what's going on? Got some more enhancement shaman beta changes. Well, just some shaman changes in general on the beta. If you didn't know, pre-patch is now on live servers, although I haven't had much time to play them. Um, the changes have apparently not been fully implemented into the pre-patch, so once War Within drops, even more changes to the class trees will be happening. So keep that in mind. Especially for Shaman, for enhancement, we're not getting 2 charges of Elemental Blast. At least I'm not for some reason. So I believe in War Within that should be fixed, but who knows? But anyways, let's get into the changes. So the first one we got here is Stone Bulwark Totem now has a 3-minute cooldown, but its effect has significantly increased. If you don't know what Stone Bulwark Totem is, it is on the class tree at the bottom in the center. It's basically our new defensive totem. Basically, what it does is it puts an absorb shield on us every 5 seconds for 30 seconds, I believe. So it gets pretty big, which is great. But anyways, onto the Farseer changes. It looks like a lot of damage increases, fixing, and stuff like that. So resolves an issue causing ancestors not to cast anything when the targeted version of an earthquake is cast. Lava burst damage from an ancestor increased by 25%. Chain lightning from ancestor 50%. Healing surge 60%. Swiftness reduced from a 45 to a 30-second. Heed my call increased the duration by 4 seconds was 2, and Ancient Fellowship now has a 20% chance to trigger was 15, and Fellowship is now less random. So what I don't know what the heck that means, but basically they're buffing Farseer because I believe it was a bit lackluster, especially when I was testing it. It did feel good overall, like seeing the effects go off, but it definitely felt like the effects were very lackluster. So seeing some damage amps to it is great. Although I'm not sure what they mean by Ancient Fellowship is now less random. So by that, I'm assuming it's the same thing as what they did to Root of the Elements, where every time you cast the ability that triggers it, it gains a stacking modifier to increase the chances the next time, and so on and so forth. So until it procs. So that's what I think. As for the actual thing, I don't know. But anyways, on to Stormbringer. The more thing we're interested about because we're enhancement shamans. Stormcaller now increases the critical strike chance of your nature spells by 5%, was 10. So that's a bit of a nerf. Um, which kind of makes sense, I guess. I guess Tempest was really hitting hard, or all nature spells were hitting very hard, so they just want to kick it back just a small amount. Tempest secondary cleave lowered to 50% was 70%. That's fair because it is, I believe it's more of a single target effect than an AoE. And the AoE effect, I believe, is uncapped damage. I don't know if it even has a soft cap, to be honest. So that does make a bit of sense, making it a bit more effective in bigger pulls, but not as effective in smaller pulls. Unlimited power reduced from 3% haste per stack to 1% haste. That's a fair change. Back in season 1 of Dragonflight, our tier set did the exact same thing, and then it would have kept going into season 2, but then they nerfed it down to what this is. So honestly, that's a fair change because I believe it stacks up to 5 or 3 times. So that would be quite a lot of haste to gain from it. Arc discharge lowered to 2 chain lightnings was 3. So this is a fair change as well because I also felt like there was too many chain lightnings to send out in between the Tempest procs. And honestly felt like all you were doing was chain lightning. So seeing it go from 3 to 2 is just fine in my opinion. Um, so I'm not too mad. This one's quite interesting to me. So conductive energies lightning rod variant is now 10% damage transfer was 20%. This one's interesting because we can apply the lightning rod to a lot of things, right? Every time you lightning bolt, every time you chain lightning, it gets applied to the primary target. It's interesting that they affect the lightning rod's damage rather than just taking into account what we're doing. But I mean, we'll have to see how it goes. I'm assuming based on the testing that's been happening, Stormbringer is very, very strong right now. I know I've seen El Broibel. If you don't know who he is, he's a German enhancement streamer, high-end Mythic Plus, always top of the IO meters. So he's always, from what I've seen, I've only seen him do it a couple times, but he's been playing Tempest as a little half and half breed of Elementalist and Storm. So I'm just going to assume that Stormbringer has been outperforming more than they thought, because they did do a recent buff to it where Tempest now deals 50% increased damage, so that might have something to do with it. But anyways, I think these changes should be fine. Nothing too significant other than unlimited power reduction. That might feel quite a lot. You might feel that quite a lot, but everything else I think is a fair change. Nothing too severe. Onto Totemic. So Totemic Tremor. So this is the Surging Totem. Now deals Flame Strike damage. This is a great change, and the reason why is because originally it only did physical damage, which meant Elementalist had no modifiers for it. Only Storm did, because you wanted physical damage enhancements. Now that it's Flame Strike, it's now affected by both fire and physical damage amps. So that means it actually applies to Elementalist in a way. Now, it doesn't solve Totemic's primary issue of wanting to Storm Strike and Lava Lash at the same time, but it does solve the actual effects issue of just being physical damage. Surging Totem's Tremor, now frequency is now affected by haste. So this is going to be very, very interesting. So I'm not sure if the duration of Surging Totem is going to be affected by haste, or if it's just going to proc more often. It's kind of interesting to see because you can have it up full time, so 24 seconds, I believe. Plus, with the totem reduction, you would have the totem up all the time. But it being affected by haste means that during our primordial wave windows, it would be a huge buff to it because it's proccing so significantly. Tremor damage reduced by 35%. That's probably just to compensate for the haste now affecting it. So I think, but overall, I don't think Tremor or Totemic has had much testing due to it not working with Enhance very well. Restoration Shaman, Imbuement Mastery now increases the duration of living weapon by 3 seconds, plus 6 seconds. Chain heals from lively totems no longer consume whirling air, nature's swiftness, tidal waves, or tidebringer. Okay, so it's just removing the fact that if you dropped a healing stream totem, it would send out a chain heal. It's no longer going to consume your buffs. So that's kind of nice. Healing Surge cast while Whirling Air and Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem are active no longer consume Whirling Air. Okay. Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem. I believe that is the Mana Stream Totem with its additional thing increasing or reducing the cast time of Healing Surge. So you no longer consume Whirling Air, because I believe that is just a cast reduction. And the same thing goes with Healing Air and Nature's Swiftness. Okay, so that's a good change, because because when you get these procs, you do want to save them. You don't want to have two go off at the same time for the price of one. It would kind of suck. But yeah, these are just little bug fixes, I guess. Elemental Thunderstrike Ward now has its own visual spell. Okay. An issue with Thunderstrike Ward dropping off has been fixed. Okay, I think that is that's their shield buff for elemental. You put the shield buff on and you have a chance to strike the enemy. Earthquake now triggers Storm Frenzy on cast only. Okay. An issue with Fusion of Elements buff activating from Ice Fury Override instead of cast has been fixed. All right, that sounds good. Enhancement, yay, important stuff. Fire and Ice now properly buffs Primordial Wave. So if you didn't know, Primordial Wave has been changed to a elemental type damage effect, which means it's gaining damage from all sources of buffs that we have, aside from physical. This is a great change. The reason why it didn't really affect us in Dragonflight because we sent Primordial Wave first because of the tier set. Now that we won't be doing that due to the new tier set, we'll be doing Feral Spirits into Primordial Wave. It will now buff Primordial Wave a bit more. Nature's Fury now properly affects Primordial Wave. So if you didn't know, Nature's Fury is on the class tree, and it gives you 4% critical strike chance increase. So that's what that's about. Primordial Wave baseline passive buff lowered to 250 was 500. That's a fair change to kind of compensate for the buff that you'll be getting from your Feral Spirits and Nature Spirits and all that. So that's kind of a fair buff in my opinion. And now properly scales with Enhancements Mastery and Elemental Spirits elemental damage buffs. So basically, they're just bringing Primordial Wave into our Mastery and Feral Spirits. So honestly, the 250% will be it. It's not that bad because you're getting it back with your Mastery and Feral Spirits, or else it'd be hitting like an absolute monster truck. So it's probably a good thing that they're nerfing it. And keep in mind, these changes are only in beta. And then we got a little bit for Resto here. Tidebringer is no longer consumed if Chain Heal is cast while Nature's Swiftness or Ancestral Swiftness is active. That's a great change. So if you don't know what Tidebringer does, it reduces the cast time and the jump, and it increases the jump range of Chain Heal. And then when you Nature's Swiftness or Ancestral Swiftness, it removes the cast time. So it is kind of a good change. Although I'm not sure if it keeps the jump range. I don't know. Earth Living Weapon heal over time is now 6 seconds, was 12 seconds, and the healing has been increased by 75%. That's actually a great change. They're making it heal faster. They're just making it heal faster essentially. Rather than being 12 seconds with a big heal, they're doing it a lot faster. That's actually quite a surprise. Wow, that's a big buff. Undulation can no longer trigger from additional healing waves from Primordial Wave. If you don't know what undulation is, basically while you have Water Shield up and you critically strike a heal, you get a bit of mana back. So basically it's just preventing Primordial Wave from giving you mana back from like 5 or 6 healing waves at the same time. Undulation now displays and highlights Healing Surge and Healing Wave when it triggers instead of being consumed. Oh, maybe no, okay. So undulation is okay. So undulation is the one where after you cast, I believe it's 3 or 4 healing surges or healing waves, your next one heals for 40% increased. Yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, you can kind of tell I'm not as familiar with Resto Shaman. I'm a little bit familiar with the new elemental, but I'm more of an enhancement because I am an enhancement main, if you didn't know. I'm sure most of you do. But overall, these changes are looking good. I can't wait to try some more Totemic out, want some more things, or just see more. It definitely does still need a bit of fixing with the Storm Strike and Lava Lash, hitting each other in the head, because you don't really want to be casting both of those. Generally, you choose one or the other. But Stormbringer, I could see these nerfs coming because it did seem very, very powerful. And all the other things I'm quite excited for. But yeah, guys, that is it for the beta update. Hopefully we'll see some more next week, more focused on Totemic or maybe Stormbringer. I don't know. Or maybe Enhancement in general, hopefully. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Laters!